Welcome everyone, I'm Jordan Sharp. With the conference finals still going on, we still have some time left in the NBA postseason. However, July 1st is getting closer by the minute as the NBA free agency period will begin here in just about 6 weeks, and it's time to start taking a look at some of the top free agents this offseason. Now, this free agent offseason not going to be as big as the one that should be coming up next season. However, still some really quality depth right now in the NBA free agent pool. A lot more restricted free agents than there are unrestricted free agents, depending on what happens with some of the player options this offseason. However, this article only covers the top 5 unrestricted and restricted free agents as I see it, and the top guy on the list for me has to be Marc Gasol, coming in as an unrestricted free agent here for the Memphis Grizzlies. Not a lot known about what his plans are for this summer. He looks like he could stay in Memphis or he could go. It's kind of 50-50 it seems. He obviously has a very good chance to win continuing with Memphis, and Memphis can offer him more money and another year than any other team. However, it really doesn't, he hasn't had a lot of success with Memphis, has gotten out of the first round a lot and been to the Western Conference Finals as well, beating the San Antonio Spurs. So there are a lot of good things that have come along. However, his running mate Zach Randolph, also an unrestricted free agent, so Memphis is going to have to shell out a lot of money to keep their big man front court duo intact this offseason. But I think in the end, I think he stays in Memphis. The next big guy on the list that's an unrestricted free agent is LaMarcus Aldridge, and I think he could be leaning towards leaving Portland. However, really remains to be seen where he could go. I think a few dangerous spots for him to end up for potentially for the West could be the San Antonio Spurs. I know that's been rumored a lot. He could also end up in Cleveland potentially if Kevin Love maybe opts out of his contract. Maybe LeBron James and Kyrie recruit him to come over there. That could be very scary for the rest of the Eastern Conference. But it does seem like Aldridge is pretty fed up with Portland. Unlike Memphis, who has had a lot of playoff success, just not a championship or an NBA Finals, the Blazers have had a lot of trouble getting out of the first round. So I think Aldridge could potentially end up somewhere else, maybe San Antonio, maybe even LA or New York if he ends up wanting to take a big contract to go to a bigger market there. Now, the restricted free agents, obviously the number one guy on the list of restricted free agents is Kawhi Leonard this offseason. He's obviously a former Finals MVP, won the Defensive Player of the Year this offseason. He's going to demand a huge max contract, and even though the Spurs can match whatever he gets on the open market, if I'm San Antonio and R.C. Buford, I offer him a max contract at exactly 12:01 a.m. on July 1st, because you do not want teams throwing offer sheets at him with poison pills in it that offer him huge upfront money even with lesser years. So have to think that the Spurs are going to shell out big bucks to want to keep Kawhi Leonard, and then once they figure out what Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili are doing this offseason, I think they can definitely potentially even go after a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge there. So that could be a huge offseason haul for the San Antonio Spurs, depending on what they want to do here. But next guy on the restricted free agent list is Jimmy Butler. To me, is obviously a big restricted free agent this offseason after the year he had, betting on himself, turning down a 4-year, $40 million contract from the Bulls last offseason. Now looks like he's probably going to get a max offer contract from the Chicago Bulls, and they should pull a card right from what the San Antonio Spurs and R.C. Buford are doing. Gar Forman, John Paxton, you need to fax, email, sit down and hand Jimmy Butler a max contract at exactly 12:01 a.m. on July 1st. Do not let teams poison pill this guy, because he's obviously going to get max contracts from New York, Los Angeles. Other teams likely going to send a max contract his way. So Chicago, it's going to be tough for them to do much else other than sign Jimmy Butler to a max contract this offseason, but still, he's that important to the club. They absolutely need to do that. Finally, a guy I included on this list is Brandon Knight. Now, he's injured right now, should be healthy, obviously, for next season, but really kind of flamed out. It was a huge year for him, but after he got traded, he was still showing some flashes of being that extremely talented, great starting point guard that you need in a very deep Western Conference for this Phoenix Suns team. But before he got traded, he was absolutely just tremendous under Jason Kidd in the first season with Milwaukee, and still, like I said, pretty good in Phoenix. They traded away Goran Dragic and Isaiah Thomas for him, however, so they're going to probably match whatever offer sheets he gets in the open market, which is probably going to be upwards of $60–65 million for a 4-year deal. So Suns probably also going to likely retain their restricted free agent here. Some other guys, honorable mention: Draymond Green, Paul Millsap, Greg Monroe, an unrestricted free agent, Enes Kanter, and Tim Duncan, obviously all big names, somewhat big names on the free agent market as well this offseason. But that'll do it for a look at your free agents. We'll obviously be taking a little bit deeper look of this, especially after the draft in the weeks upcoming before July 1st. But that'll do it for me this time. I'm Jordan Sharp, and this has been another edition of the Sharp Pick.